Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another QA pilot stream. It is 2100 hours local time, 1800 Zulu. I want to welcome all of you guys to this live stream. Everyone in chat here this evening, VMO Coder, welcome aboard. Mr. Airbus, Rand Cooley, hello my friend, welcome aboard. Dougal Mektevish, Drashal, thank you very much guys for being here. I appreciate it. Chris Strobel, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here. We have with us today Megabyte Gaming. Hello and welcome aboard. Drish, how are you doing? I hope everything is well at your end, my friend, and that school is going well. What we are going to be doing today is we are going to be taking a look at the SSG Boeing 747 based on popular demand. A lot of people have been asking about this aircraft. Do I think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth the price? And of course, the what got me to say, you know, I have got to do it is the moderators of the channel have asked me to do a review of it since it has received some major updates over the past period. Now, I have done reviews of this aircraft, and when it first came out, and for the very first reviews I've made of the aircraft, it was not an aircraft that I recommend. I went back and did a few more reviews. I've spoken to the developer, who happens to be a very nice guy, and I've changed my mind a little bit about the aircraft, and I think that this 747 does offer it's a fun add-on to have. It's a fun add-on to fly. But we're going to be taking a look at everything. I've always flown the passenger variant, so today we're going to be flying the freighter. And I have chosen this really beautiful Cathay Pacific. We are at Xiamen Airport in China, and we're going to be heading today to Hong Kong International Airport. The scenery of Hong Kong International is that by Thai Models. So, let me brief you on our flight plan very quickly here. We are currently situated here at Xiamen Airport in China. We are going to be departing runway 05 today through the NOS 9 Delta departure through the NOSPA transition. We're going to be cruising at about 24,000 feet. This is a very short flight and a real-world flight for Cathay Pacific. And we are going to be arriving into Hong Kong International runway 07 left, where we can see the wind favoring this runway with 12 knots of headwind and 8 knots of crosswind. We're going to be doing so through the Abbey 3 Alpha arrival through the Abbey transition. Our alternate airport is Zulu Golf Golf Golf. Today, the weather conditions at both departure and arrival airports are quite nice. We have marginal VFR here at our departure airport and VFR conditions over at Hong Kong. We should be arriving during nighttime, so it should give us also a chance to look at the nice night lighting of the aircraft as well as the arriving airport. Okay. So enough blabbing, let's get things ready for departure. We have Cavok Simulations. Good morning to you, my friend. Welcome aboard. All right, so you've been briefed, folks. Let's hop into the cockpit. And the very first thing I'd like to say about the SSG is that the developer has made several updates to this aircraft over the years to bring it to this level. And I will have to say that I do like what he's done in terms of the texture work. I do not think that it's the highest fidelity possible. I think it is reasonable. I think he could do better, but it has come a long way from the initial texturing that was available on this aircraft when it was released. It has also been fitted with an electronic flight bag, which is okay in my view. It does the job. I'm going to go ahead and close the doors since you've seen everything. Oop, we need the GPU. We're going to close these doors because they just take quite a bit of time to close the dome cargo door here. So we're just going to go ahead and close that. And overall, it's It's not a great add-on, but it's not bad, and I'm going to tell you exactly why as we progress through our flight today. Certainly, the external model is just phenomenal. It's very, very nice. Here's a look again, guys, at the external model of the aircraft, and as you can see, a very authentic representation of the Boeing 748. Of course, this is the freighter version, but it looks gorgeous. And this livery really brings the beauty of the 747. Very, very nice engines. You can see those beautiful engines. And you can see also the wing, the aircraft. Overall exterior modeling is done quite well. The interior can definitely get some improvement. And let's first set up here the electronic flight bag. We're going to put the payload, so we'll put the cargo and fuel. So the nice thing is you can manipulate all the doors and the dome. We're going to come here to payload, and our payload is available in our SimBrief plan. So let's come here to view SimBrief operational flight plan and head over to the payload section. 172 is the total payload. So let's go ahead and put for the payload 172, that's 100, and then let's see, 172. How do I see this? All right, let me clear this. Let's try this one more time. 172. There we go. 172. Actually, we can put 173. It's 170.6. All right, and then we're going to say load, and now it's going to start loading the aircraft. You can see that the CG changes with that, and we're going to add fuel as well, and that will bring, you'll see. All right, so 8.9, and then we're going to come here to the fuel, and we're going to add 52.1. That's in thousands pounds of fuel. So 52, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 52.1, and we're going to say load. And you'll see the CG starting to increase again. And now we have the, all right, so the aircraft is fueled and we are ready to go. I do like the fact that you can very quickly load the aircraft from within the electronic flight bag. We're going to come over here to the overhead panel. We do have the external power available, so we're going to turn this on. And we're going to come here, set the nav, the ADDONS to nav mode, and nav mode. Now the sounds aren't that great in my view, and they could definitely use an improvement for, again, the aircraft. It's not a cheap aircraft to buy, so I would expect at some point better sound set for the aircraft if it's going to continue to sell at this price. All right, so utility buses left and right are on standby power to auto, and we can go ahead and start the APU. All right, so let's start. Why is it not wanting to? Ah, your battery. There we go. All right, so now we can start. All right, looks like the APU has already started. Not sure why it doesn't want to go to the start. Let's try to do this. It's just on the on position. All right, well, we can check here. Looks like the APU is EGT. No, it's not starting for sure. All right, let me see here if I can do this again. Why is the APU not starting? Do I need to reload the aircraft? That's very strange. APU is definitely not on. All right, I'll tell you what, guys. We are going to, let's see here. We're going to say load current aircraft and ART. So we'll just reload the aircraft. I'm not sure why it's the APU doesn't want to start. So we'll just reload the aircraft. Maybe that'll fix the issue. And I've done a couple of
Pushback
test
failure.
flights, and
Aircraft appears
I'm
to
not
not have
really
any
sure
steerable
why.
gears.
You know, we get these issues only during stream. It only happens during the stream, which is very, very strange. But anyway. All right, let's come down here again. And let's see here. We're going to put the standby power on auto. Let's turn on the battery, utility buses. And now we can put it on start. Perfect. All right, so now we're starting the APU. And, all right, well, we'll set the nav here. Nav and nav. All right, so we have loaded the aircraft again. So we're going to have to come here and load our, put the payload again. So we had 173. So let's do 173, 173, and load. And then we're going to come to the fuel, and we're going to add 50, was it 59? 52, 52.1. All right, so 52.1. Perfect. And then we're going to say load that. Excellent. If you look here, oh, okay, we don't have external power on, so we're just going to have to wait for the APU. All right, APU is available. APU gens 1 and 2 are on. All right, now we have the aircraft systems operational. Let's just continue with our flows here on the overhead panel. We're going to come over here and turn on the hydraulic pumps to auto. Everything here looks good, and we can test the engine overheat right there. Excellent. Everything here checks okay. Coming down here, all looks good. We're going to turn on the main tanks, and we'll leave the override. There's nothing in the center tank, so we'll leave that off. The window heat is on. Panel lights, everything here looks good. We'll come over here. Trim ram air turbine is not needed. Everything here looks good. Fan is on. And for the recirc, yeah, that's the recirc fan. And we can turn on the APU bleed. And we're going to turn on the packs, keep the cargo area and the cockpit conditioned favorable for our pilots. Okay. So we are now ready to program the FMS, and it's quite simple to program the FMC on this aircraft. Again, we're going to come here and let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. FMC, everything here looks good. We're going to go to position init. We are at, I'm going to move the speed brake here. All right, we are at Zulu Sierra Alpha Mike. Is that so? No, it's Zulu Sam. Okay, so it's Zulu Sierra. I thought there was something wrong with the ICO. All right, so that's the departure. We're going to select the current GPS position. We're going to go to route, and the destination today is Victor Hotel, Hotel, Hotel. Okay, perfect. Let's bring this here. We are Cathay Pacific. Okay. I'm not sure where's the flight number. What happened to the flight number? All right, there we go. 3238. We can leave that. All right, so CPA, that's Cathay Pacific 3238. And we stick that here. Excellent. And we can now activate the flight. All right, let's go ahead and activate and execute. All right, X, we're going to go to the departure. We're going to select the departure out of runway 5 through the NOS Niner 1 Delta, which is this one here, through the NOSPA transition. Excellent. And we're going to execute. Next, we're going to go to the route. We're going to go to the next page. We are going to head from NOSPA through Whiskey 597. Whiskey 597 Airway, and we're going to exit at Ekata. And then from there, we're going to take airwave Alpha 470, and we're going to exit at Magog. All right, that's Magog selected. Excellent. And from Magog, Victor 512, Victor 512, and exit at Abbey. And then it's the arrival into Hong Kong International. So we're good here. We're going to go to the arrival page. We're going to select the Abbey 3 Alpha, which is this one here, the first one, Abbey 3 Alpha, through the Abbey transition. And it's an ILS runway 07 left. Then you've got the Limes this is the ILS 07. We're going to select that one there for the transition and execute. And now the route is done. Let's go ahead and make sure we have no discontinuities in our flight, which we don't. And we're also going to make sure that the flight plan is legible. So if we go here and go to the legs page and step through, just make sure that everything looks legible. This is the arrival. And yeah, so we go from TD to Guava, and then we make the turn there. Okay, alrighty. So all is looking good here, and it looks like from TD we go to Guava. Yeah, that's how it's just the line, the magenta line is not drawn here for some reason. Okay, so we go back here to the map. So far, so good. Let's go to performance in it. Just clicking on the gross weight here sets everything for you. The reserve, we can just put 2. That's fine. And the cruise altitude for the flight today is going to be 22,000 feet. 22,000 feet. Short flight. Cost index of 258. We're going to burn a lot of fuel. 258, and the cruise CG can be found in your electronic flight bag. So it's 9.7. Now, for some reason, when you put 9.7, you will not get it here, but you'll get it on the takeoff page for some reason. I'm not sure why. Hello there, Tristan Meyer. Welcome aboard. Alex. Hello, Alex. Stan. Welcome aboard, guys. Glad to have you here. Thank you very much for making it to the stream. I appreciate it. I hope your mom is well, Alex. And next we're going to go to thrust limit, and we are going to derate our takeoff. From the takeoff page, we're going to select 10, flaps 10, and set our speeds. Here, you can see now we have the 9.7 for the CG. The trim is 9 units. V2 is 165, so we're going to set this to 165. All right, 165. Excellent. And next, we're going to set our altitude to 22,000 feet. All right, 22,000. You know, guys, I really think this aircraft can become, you know, a high fidelity one with just a little bit of rework of the cockpit and an integration of high fidelity sounds, because the add-on itself, the way this aircraft flies, is actually very, very pleasing. We're going to set the baro here. All right, so let's take a look here at the weather conditions. And if we go here to the weather, altimeter 1025, winds are fine. All right, so 1025. Okay, perfect. 1025 is now set, and we are ready. Excellent. So we're going to come down here, and we're going to turn on the beacon light. Beacon light lower. Yeah, fine. And everything else here is looking good. All right, let's turn on the fasten seatbelt sign, which can be found here. All right, perfect. Main deck alert. it is in up, and everything is good to go. By the way, with the 747, you can simply do LNAV and VNAV on the ground, so we can just click LNAV and VNAV here. The auto brake is set to rejected takeoff, and we're ready to start the engines. Now, starting the engines is highly unrealistic in this aircraft, and I will show you in a minute why. So we need nine units. All right, so 9 units is set. Now, when you normally turn on, so the sequence is engines 4, 1, 2, 3. That's normally the sequence of the 747. Now, when you turn on the engine number 4, when you pull the switch here for engine number 4, it takes a little bit of time for the engines to spool, and then you need to introduce the fuel. With this implementation of the 747, you need to just do this instantly. Just so we're going to pull this number 4, and you will not see anything, moving. The engine spools very, very slowly and then eventually stops. But if you give it fuel, then it will just go and start the engine. This is not in accordance with what I know, having done the 400 and 808 in by PMDG. So it's very different from what you see here. But nonetheless, the switches are representative of what you see in the real Boeing 747. So now we have the engine here. You can see, again, the animation is quite nice, I have to say. I do like how this aircraft looks. It's starting to get pretty dark here. And yeah, we'll probably arrive during nighttime into Hong Kong. All right, let's go ahead and start engine number 1 and introduce fuel here. Excellent. We're going to come to the transponder, where I set transponder 2000, and we'll set this to TARA just so that we don't forget it. And we have now the engine number 1 starting. Shikari, hello, my friend. Welcome aboard. PMG still doesn't have a release date, though, right? No, they do not. All right, so we have the engine number 1 starting. And we can set our flaps to flaps 10. All right, perfect. Look at that. This is just beautiful animation there. And we can see the flaps extending. There we go. Excellent. And we have, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and just in the interest of time, start engines 2 and 3 simultaneously. And we're going to introduce the fuel here. In terms of FPS, let's see here. We're getting about 57 FPS here on the ground. So it is comparable to other aircraft in terms of system resource requirements. And yeah, not bad in terms of performance requirement. Welcome to Private Pilot Chris Strobel. Thank you very much, sir, for your support. I appreciate it. Hello there, hello. Does this aircraft compare in any way to the Felis 747? No. The answer is no. It flies very nice, though. I have to say that the flight model of this aircraft is very, very well done. And there are real-world pilots who have attested to the flight model of this aircraft. But in terms of the depth of system simulation and all that good stuff, it's okay. It's a fun aircraft to fly, let's put it this way. All right, so we're going to come here to the overhead panel. We are going to turn off the APU bleed, and we're going to turn off the APU. All right, excellent. And we're going to set the taxi lights on, and we are ready to go. Okay. So as you can see now, the cockpit looks a little bit nicer during nighttime. And let's set this to legs page. We're going to set this to VNAV. All right. And here we go. Parking brake is released, and let's give it power. think we still have the chocks on. There we go. Just look at how majestic this aircraft is. The Boeing 747. What an iconic aircraft. Those flaps on the 747 are just absolutely gorgeous. All right, here we go. Yeah, this aircraft definitely has been supported and has been updated over the years, and the developer has never really given up on it. So, I mean, that is really to be commended. Auto throttle is on. We're going to turn on our landing lights and runway turn-off lights to enter the runway. Strobe lights can go on as well. And we are now cleared for takeoff. Brilliant. What a beautiful looking aircraft, the 747. All right, we're lined up runway 05 and off we go. We'll bring it back on the knots. Center line. 80 knots checked.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate. Gears going up. Guys, look at this beautiful sight of those beautiful wings with the wing condensation there. All right. Let's bring the nose down a little bit. Right, 1,000 feet, and autopilot command A is engaged. We are using also ActiveSky XP today for this flight. All right, let's retract flaps. Flaps 5. We're going to decrease the range here. There we go. Right, flaps 1. Now, if we look down here, it takes the speed back to 220. We don't want that, so I'm going to say 250. And let's see here. All right, we're going to add 250, so we'll change the speed there so it doesn't go back. And we want 250 right here as well. There we go. So that will put the speed back at 250 so that we can retract our flaps. Excellent. Looking good. Speed check. And flaps up. Right, we're coming up to 5,000 feet. Barrel set to standard. Look at those wings, guys. And by the way, the wing flex is very well done on this aircraft. It's got a really nice wing flex. Right, we continue our climb through 6,000 for 22,000 feet. We're going to just increase the panel lights there. It looks pretty good during nighttime. In fact, it looks a lot better during nighttime than it is during the day. Maybe we'll bring the lights just a little bit lower there so that it's not so bright. There we go. That's much better. Hello there, Mike Coffee. Welcome aboard. I'd love to be in Kuwait right now. Tired of minus 10 Celsius, which is not normal for us. Oof, minus 10 Celsius. Gee. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. All right, landing lights off as we approach 10,000 feet. Runway turn-off lights are off, and we can release the cabin crew. We have only about a couple of people in the back with us this evening for our flight into Hong Kong International. IFR Captain, welcome aboard. Is this version 2.7R1 that you are using? This is the latest available version of the aircraft. So whatever that is. I just used the Skunkcraft updater and updated the plane. There was a question from one of you guys. Hey Q8, I've been watching videos and streams on this SSG 747 and have gotten many mixed opinions. What do you think of it? I will give you exactly what my opinion is. One of you was asking, does it come just with the freighter version? It comes with the two versions. I've provided you guys with a link to the anniversary edition of the SSG in the description of the stream, as well as through chat command !aircraft. Now, let me tell you what this aircraft gives you and what it doesn't give you. If you are looking for a study level simulation of the Boeing 747-8, this aircraft is not for you. If you're looking for something very high fidelity in terms of the sounds or an advanced electronic flight bag, it's not for you. This aircraft is for someone who likes the 747-8 and wants to experience the flight model of the 747. I'd have to say that based on real-world Boeing 747 pilots, the flight model of this aircraft is very close to the real Boeing 747 in terms of how it actually handles up in the air. When you hand fly this aircraft, you will immediately notice how very different it is from anything else that you've flown in this sim. You definitely feel the heaviness of the aircraft, and it is quite responsive to the payload that you put in the aircraft. So when you're heavy, you'll feel that the aircraft is pretty heavy. And so if you are looking for a fun add-on to experience the 747, then this is definitely an add-on for you. Now, I know that the developer has done a lot of updates for this aircraft, but the updates were primarily in the fixes department. There have been changes to the cockpit textures, though I think they still need a lot of work. I think the cockpit textures are nice. They are not bad, but they still need work, in my view, to to really call this aircraft, high fidelity representation in terms of the visuals. But I do like how the aircraft flies. It is a reasonable aircraft. The price perspective, I think it's a little bit pricey, but when I spoke to the developer the very first time, and he was quite upset with me the first time when I reviewed the aircraft, and I was quite harsh, and you guys know me that I'm quite harsh with these things. I am fair, but when I need to be harsh, I will be harsh. And I was very harsh about the price of the aircraft. So when I spoke to the developer, again, when you speak to the developers, you get the perspective that you don't normally see or learn about when you're on the other side of the fence. We have Grab Your Parachutes. Welcome aboard, my friend. Glad to have you here. By the way, I completely second that by Alex. It's not bad, but it could be better. All right. So I spoke to the developer of the aircraft, and he's a very, very nice guy, by the way, very, very dedicated. And I said, he said, I know that you're upset about the price of the aircraft, considering what the aircraft offers, but let me explain a few things to you to put things into perspective. First, the aircraft sells on the X-Plane Org store. So this is a revenue sharing business model where SSG posts their add-on there, and obviously X-Plane Org distributes to the consumer market, and they take a cut. So if you take the price of the aircraft and you apply that cut, the developer has already lost a little bit there. Then this aircraft uses the Dream engine. Now this is not free. This Dream engine is actually a licensed product, and so the developer has to pay a license fee to use the Dream engine by Dreamfoil Creations. So, and I'm not sure about the scheme of this, but it looks like this is every time that you sell an aircraft, they get a cut as well. So that's again a minus for the developer. So if you consider what X-Plane Org takes as a cut and the license fee that the developer pays for the Dream engine, then he's left with an amount that he needs to be able to survive and make a living out of selling his add-on. And for this reason, the price, the aircraft's current price is what the developer thought that would be sufficient for him to actually make some profit and make a living out of selling this add-on. Otherwise, it would not make business sense to him to put the aircraft and make very little, especially when the aircraft is not really it's not really a very popular aircraft, I have to say. If you were to ask me, Q8, what do you think? Should I make an investment in this? Well, if we go to the X-Plane Org store, let's go to X-Plane Org, all right? And we're going to go to the store here, okay? Now, if we look at, by the way, tomorrow we're going to be flying to JFK, a new by Nimbus simulation. Santiago was very kind enough to provide me with a copy of the airport to show you guys, and we're going to be doing a detailed review. And his email was funny. He said, I know, Q8, that you like to buy all the add-ons, but hey, you don't have to buy this one. Please just accept it as a gift and just take a look at it, and please give me your honest opinion. So that's exactly what we're going to do tomorrow. Now, if we go to the 747 here, you'll see that we have the 747-8 series and we have the 747 Classic. The price of the 747-8 is $48.30, but this is a discounted price, so let me just click here. So the price was, alright, so it was $69 retail price. It was on sale for $54.90, and now it's $48.30. And I will tell you guys, if you want to buy this aircraft, if you have any interest in the 748, now is the time. Go and grab it because it's at $48, and I think this is a very reasonable price for this aircraft, considering what this aircraft does. Now, Is the retail price of $69 warranted when you can buy the Classic, which is here? Let's see here. So you've got the Boeing 742 Classic for $70. Check this out. So $70 for this aircraft and $70 for the 74200 by Felis. That is not acceptable, you'll think. And I would probably agree with you. But right now, this aircraft is at $48.30, which is the steal for a 7478, and you get both variants of the passenger and the cargo variant of the aircraft at $48. Considering what this aircraft has to offer, I think it's worth it. Anything more than that, I will say consider, unless you really want the 748. Then yeah, I mean, go ahead and spend the money. But otherwise, I would pick something else. I wouldn't invest $70 in this aircraft, to be honest. Hello there, Andre. Welcome aboard. I have this add-on and has been improved a lot. I guess right now is a beauty plane. Yeah, it is a very enjoyable aircraft to fly. I prefer something newer. Like MD-11. Rocket likely. The MD-11, again, has its problems in terms of the visuals, but again, a very high fidelity aircraft. It's got beautiful sounds, very in-depth systems. So yeah, I do like it. What is this off scale? That's the first time I see it. Okay, let's take a quick look at the outside here, and we can take a look at this rather beautiful sight of this Cathay Pacific 747 soaring through the skies and heading to Hong Kong. Yeah, look at that. I love the 747. I love Boeing. Look at that, guys. Oh, yeah. Yeah, by the way, there is an issue with the texturing. You can see that this is not matching here. So this comes down. I'm not sure if this is correct in accordance with the real aircraft, but it looks like it's off. So, yeah. Yeah, it does look pretty good, I have to say. Mr. Kompavos, welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here with us. ActiveSky is very good. Yes, very impressed with it. Yeah, it is. It is, Prashant. It's very, very good. And this latest version, the recent update, is just absolutely phenomenal. Very, very good. Very, very good. Yeah. Here again, here's a look at those wings. Yeah, not a bad add-on for $48 right now with this. I think it's a very reasonable price. All right. Let's come down here and to the FMCs. Why is this changed? All right, let's come here. All right, so TD in 136 nautical miles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to PageNet, and we're going to set flaps 3150. So we're just going to click that there. We already have the ILS frequency set and the approach course, 111.55. All's looking good there. Excellent. Perfect. And very nice sky color and clouds there. Is Night XP worth a try? Night XP. Chris, to be very, very honest with you, I will not invest in any night light add-on. I mean, don't spend your money there. They're really not worth it. The night lighting in X-Plane by default is just great. So please don't waste your money on anything that's to do with only night tweaking. You know, no, it's not required. It really is not required. And I'll show you once we arrive into Hong Kong today. It's probably going to be nighttime, so you'll see all the lights, you'll see the runway lights. And it really is not required that you do any modifications to the lights. I'm not sure if it's compatible or not. What I've found in X-Plane 12, aside from Visual XP, I don't really find the need to really change anything in the sim. I like the clouds a lot with ActiveSky. I think the representation of the cloud layers is quite accurate. The METAR represented by ActiveSky is quite accurate. And I think the X-Plane weather engine allows for a very realistic representation of the meteorological data. I'm going to make a review video very soon on the V-Flight Air Twin Comanche. And when I was doing the testing, just looking at the pilot operating handbook and looking at some of the videos of the real aircraft to make that review, what I've noticed is when I took off with the aircraft, I felt that, you know, it was very nostalgic. I remembered the feeling I had when I flew the real Bonanza back in Texas. And I'll tell you guys, X-Plane has this really, the dynamics of X-Plane is so close to the real thing. You feel like you're really flying an aircraft. The way the aircraft moves, the way that it reacts to the air, the way the air affects the airfoil is just really very, very well done in X-Plane. And I do not get that same feeling when I fly any other simulator, including DCS, by the way. X-Plane has just a very, very unique feel to it. And it really reminds me a lot of the feeling I had when I was flying the Bonanza. Right, here's a look at the backside of the wing here. Again, you can see that the texturing is definitely off. You can see the bend here. It doesn't look very, very smooth to me. It doesn't look right. I think you can see it more here. So that's something that has always been there. And I'm not sure, but this doesn't look like it is in the real aircraft. I don't think it looks that way in the real aircraft. Yeah, this one is definitely something that I don't know if this is correct or not, but it looks off to me. But if somebody knows, they can, enlighten us. But look at those textures. They're very nice. All right, back in the cockpit here, things are looking good, and we are approximately 105 nautical miles from top of descent. All right, good time to study our approach. We're going to come back to the charts, and we're going to go 07 left. So let's come here and go to the approach 07 left, ILS or localizer. And that's us right there. That's the airport. Well, it should be straightforward, but it looks like, see, if you look here, we probably need to start slowing down to the approach speed right after Limes. We need to be at 2,000. Okay, so let's take a look here. 1,500 feet is the platform altitude. Okay, perfect. 111.55 and 074 for the approach course, which is already set automatically, and the 747 automatically picks up the ILS and approach course. You don't really have to do anything there, just set your flaps and final speed. And yeah, it has the instructions. So we're just at 180 knots, switch to between 160 and 150. Advise approach control, flat flying speed is below 125. Okay, so that's not going to be us for sure. All right, so all's good here. Excellent. We're ready to descend at in about 100 nautical miles. Yeah, the sim editions, the guys behind Visual XP, they're very good, I have to say. I had wondered if updates would be forthcoming. Definitely, yeah, definitely. This aircraft has definitely received numerous updates over the years, and the most recent update is quite recent. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, overall, I think it's a it's a well cared for add-on in Expo. Again, we can take a look here at the cockpit. Again, here you can see that he's done, you know, a reasonable job with, you know, with the texturing of the aircraft. Not the highest fidelity again, and definitely can use some work still, but overall very representative of a 747-8. And yeah, it looks quite nice. Let me show you just one thing, maybe to bring the aircraft. All right, let me go back here. So this view here, if you look from the distance here at the cockpit, this is definitely something very, very, you know, 747-like. The cockpit, the dimensions, the scale, looks pretty good in my view. So yeah, so far so good. And we are going to descend in about 80 nautical miles now. So tomorrow, folks, this stream, by the way, I'm making up for the Cockspur Phenom 100 that I did not do. I wasn't able to stream on that day. So this is kind of a replacement stream for the one we couldn't do on Saturday. And tomorrow is the regular stream schedule, Tuesday. So tomorrow we are going to be flying a real-world JetFlu flight from Boston Logan International to JFK. Now, the airport, Boston airport that we're going to be flying from tomorrow is Freeware by Mr. X. And it is just an incredible airport, incredible rendition of Boston Airport for free by Mr. X. And the arrival airport is John F. Kennedy Airport for X-Plane 12 by Nimbus Simulations Studios. Now, Nimbus, the guys, they create everything. They've created helicopters, they've created airplanes, and they've created sceneries. They've created some very nice sceneries and some very good aircraft. One of the most famous creations of Nimbus is the BN Islander, which is used to be one of the best aircraft, one of the better aircraft, I would say, in X-Plane 10 and 11. So yeah, so they've created this, and Santiago is actually a very, very nice guy. I met him over at FS Expo initially, and he came to say hello, and I can't hardly hear you, Q8 pilot. The background wind noise is so much. Oh, okay. Well, we can fix that, my friend. We can come here to the config, and we'll reduce these sounds. There we go. Right, hopefully that's better. And let's see if we can takes the interior now. I hope that's better for you now. Yeah, the BN2 Islander is pretty good. It's got some issues though with the glass, but overall it's a pretty good aircraft here. Yeah, thinking what could cause the difference. It's absolutely not a lightweight plane, FPS-wise, but it should be very similar to the Zeebo. What do you think of the X-Aviation Turbine Islander? I think it's a great aircraft. Very, very good. It's created by, not Hotstar, what's the name of it? Torxim. Torxim is the developer of the Turbine Islander, and it's just phenomenal. Yeah, very, very good. By the way, the Nimbus Islander is also very, very good. In some areas better than the Torxim one, but they are pretty much. If you put them, the sounds on the BN2 Islander by Nimbus, I think is a little better, if you ask me. Maybe we'll do a flight, but there was a problem with the glass, so it was very difficult for me to do a stream with it. All right, so let's set this to 1,500 feet, our platform altitude for the flight today. All right, 1500. Okay, that is set. Here's the top of descent. By the way, this clock does work. You have to click it twice to work, but it does work. The terrain and weather radar also work, so if I bring up the weather here and the terrain radar here, this works perfectly well, and no issues there. There you go. We have the terrain radar now. We're going to put this back on the legs page. 51 knots. Okay. So yeah, so overall, it's a pretty cool. You can, by the way, manage the sounds here. So here's the master. Bring this down a little bit. Bring these down. Yeah, the wind. Yeah. So that's how the you know, you can manage the aircraft, and then of course you have the, once you're airborne, you'll have the destination. Current, all the information is available for you here. The FPS is currently 85, 84, 85. There are some options here as well that you can set. Hide the yoke on the first first officer captain side. Hide outside pilot figures. Show first officer side tablet, and then fast iris alignment, which I have selected, and set nav display heading up. So a few preferences here, and I do like the fact that that the developer has built this electronic flight back into the aircraft, because I think it does make it just a tad more usable. Captain Lee, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here, my friend. I get with every other plane except for this. Really? Wow. What do you think of the I'll have to check out the Nimbus then. Yeah, please do check the Nimbus aircraft. It's going very well, Captain Lee. I hope you are well, my friend. Really? That's strange. 45, 30 FPS only with this one? That's really strange, though. Yeah, I don't think I've had issues with this aircraft. Guys, look at this view. Look at the reflection there on the aircraft fuselage. Wow. Yeah, I've got to love X-Plane. One of the things I like also about X-Plane is during daylight you can still see the strobe lights, something that you can't see in MSFS for some reason. The lights become extremely dim, but you can still see them in X-Plane. That is a nice view. There's a ship there, or a boat or something, traveling at very high speed there. I really am looking forward to your next project, Captain Lee. By the way, guys, for those of you who do not know, Captain Lee develops scenery, and we've showcased many of his scenery projects here on the channel. He creates some very, very nice sceneries, very high quality scenery for X-Plane 12. Is it worth buying the whole E-Jets for E-Jet package? Chris, let me tell you this about the E-Jets. First of all, when you buy any of the E-Jets, you can count on excellent support from the developer. Marco's a great guy, and we have something up our sleeves for you guys coming up on the 25th of Jan. Now, as far as the E-Jets are concerned, it really depends on the routes that you're going to fly. All of them are the same. They fly the same. The automation and the depth of simulation is the same. The only thing that differs is the performance of the engines and the elongated fuselage as you go to the higher variants. So the E170, the E175, 1995 are bigger than their predecessors. So this is the only difference, and it really depends on whether you're going to fly, you know, a longer route or your routes are always short. If you are going to fly the same routes or similar distance routes that are short routes, 45 minutes, an hour max, you know, you will not need the E190, for example. If you like to have the variety and not be, you know, constrained by the variant of the aircraft, then you can definitely buy all four. I don't see why you should buy all four unless you want to fly that particular aircraft, you know, with longer routes. So then you'll need the 190. But then, what if you just need the 175 for a slightly longer route than the 170 can take you? But if your routes are normally, you know where to fly, and those are very short routes, you just go with the 170. You don't really have to go and buy all of them. Thank you very much, Stan. Appreciate it. Allah Aruk, hello, my friend. Welcome aboard. Always pleasure to have you, Allah. I hope things are well and that you are safe and sound. Here is our top of descent. And I really can't wait for the changes that Laminar is going to introduce in the next version of X-Plane. All right. If we look down here, for some reason it's not drawing the magenta line there. That's the top of descent, and the aircraft will begin the descent exactly at the TD mark here. It's getting darker for sure, but that is going to be to our advantage so that we can explore the night lighting of X-Plane 1209 RC4. And I'm planning to also have an evening flight tomorrow for our Kennedy approach in the tallest A320 because the look of the airport during the nighttime is just simply spectacular. I hope you guys have enjoyed that AI video that I posted, and I'm just really amazed at what AI can do today. And yeah, it was very interesting that the AI knew about blade element theory, and it knew about, you know, Azure and Bing Maps for MSFS. Was pretty cool. So I really thoroughly enjoyed watching the video. LaGuardia is a nicer approach. Brian, welcome aboard. First of all, there is a new scenery by Nimbus Simulations, so we're going to be taking a look at that airport in our stream tomorrow. Yeah, LaGuardia has a very beautiful approach. That's without a doubt. And tomorrow we're going to be able to see, I think, the beauty of X-Plane, where you're going to be able to see two airports, one of which is freeware and one is payware, and where they're both actually very, very high fidelity representation of the actual airports. Now, I have taken a very, very detailed look at Nimbus JFK, and I will be pointing out exactly where I feel that the scenery falls short, but I'm also going to highlight the strength of the scenery where I think it really excels. Exactly what you've always, you know, you've come to expect from Q8. Yeah. So we're going to be taking a detailed look tomorrow. Is this Q8 or AI? That's definitely Q8. Yeah. All right. One thing we need to check here on the approach is if we go to the star I forgot which one is our start. It's the Abbey 3 Alpha. So Abbey 3 Alpha. Abbey 3 Alpha. And if we look here, what I'm looking for is the transition level. So 11,000 feet. Or above flight. Okay, so 11,000 feet. All right, perfect. If we go to the weather here, and look here, that's us. All right, so the weather, we have scattered 2,500, few at 2,000. QNH is 1021. So our visibility is great. Everything is, so we should be arrive there without incident. Look at the winds though. 100 knots at 16, gusting to 26. Jeez. Some crosswind there, huh? Wow. That's a lot of wind. Okay, well, that's going to make the arrival a bit more challenging and a little bit just a tad more fun. So, yeah, all right. So here we are. This is our approach. Everything is good. And yeah, it's a very mountainous area as well here as we arrive into Hong Kong International Airport. 15,000, so 11,000 will set the altimeter to 1021. Okay, perfect. I wish XP had decent multiplayer. XP night lighting has always been a really strong... Yeah, absolutely. Q8, I'm going to talk to my boss about giving you and a couple other guys about a pre-release copy of a scenery about to come out. I will keep in contact with you. Absolutely. Always a pleasure to fly into your airports, Captain Lee. All right. So we can see now the aircraft wants to descend. I'm going to just give the... Let's extend the speed brake here. In time we can use our lovely Thrustmaster throttles and speed brake to reduce the speed a little bit faster. I'm going to go down to 280. So we'll give it what it wants. All right, there we go. And retract the speed brakes. Everything is already configured for the landing into Hong Kong International. Brilliant. I told you guys during nighttime the cockpit looks a lot better than daylight, and the exposure is a lot less as well in the cockpit, so it actually looks pretty good during nighttime. Kritik Varma, I purchased the TCA Boeing Quadrant for $75. Well, what do you think of it, Mr. Varma? I enabled resizable bar for MSFS, and X-Plane seems to be running higher FPS. No proof of that, just seems like it. You know, Brian, I've tested it on MSFS, and it does seem to help with FPS. I haven't tried it with X-Plane. I was planning to do it, but I wasn't feeling very brave just right before the stream to try something new that I haven't tested. So I skipped on that. But I plan on doing the resizable bar changes for X-Plane as well. I normally do not report, so I couldn't say that this works for X-Plane because I haven't tested it. But with MSFS, without a doubt, it did help with the FPS for sure. Will be coming by Sunday from Amazon. I see. But for $75, I will get autopilot knob, spoilers, flaps, and the throttle all in one. That's right, sir. Yeah. Absolutely. it's a good unit, if you ask me. I'm personally very pleased with it. It's not like my HOTAS throttle, to be honest. So the HOTAS is obviously a $500 throttle, so it's a much higher quality than the Thrustmaster Boeing throttle. But nonetheless, that said, I'm really enjoying it because it feels like it's a Boeing throttle. And like you said, you know, it's got the speed brake, it's got the reverse thrust, you've got the autopilot selector, and the unit itself is quite compact. It's not very big, it's not very heavy, and though it's not heavy, you can actually set it on your desk and it won't move because the amount of tension required to move the throttle is not that great. It's at par with their Airbus Quadrant. It's just about the same, I think, in terms of the quality and the operation. But obviously the HOTAS that I've been using for years has been one of the best investments I made in the gear. And I purchased so much gear for flight sim. Everything that you mentioned, I probably have tried over the years. Hello there, Greg Hill. Welcome aboard, my friend. Glad to have you here. Hello there, Renan D. Oliveira. Welcome aboard, my friend. Glad to have you with us this evening. I'm glad that it worked for you, Grab Your Parachute. I'm glad that that has worked for you. All right. We can see that we are getting pretty close now, 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and turn on the landing lights and runway turn-off lights, and fasten seatbelt sign. We'll go back to auto. And all right, so 10,000 feet, looking good, 240 knots. And if I switch to the outside, you can already see the city lights there. You can see that. And this is, by the way, all X-Wing default. I'm not using any scenery here whatsoever, with the exception of the airport that we're arriving into, which is a time model airport. 900,000 feet. We're looking good. I need to get the mini FCU so bad. I actually received my second mini FC unit because I was a backer of the project, but then the mini cockpit originally decided to give me a unit to test out. So, and immediately when the project was on, I went and backed up the project. So I was one of the very first people to receive a unit. But then they shipped the second unit to me, which I gave away to somebody who's dear to me. And I said, hey, I've received my second unit, so here, I'll ship it over to you. So yeah, so I've shipped given away my second FCU unit, mini FCU. All right. So now we are heading to Guava, and this is our turn. We're going to begin reducing our speed as we move towards the turn. Let me just do this here. All right, now you can't see it. Okay, let me just zoom in. Okay, so after this turn, it's actually the airport. So we need to configure the aircraft for landing at probably at SoCo or SoCo. Definitely at Limes, we need to start bringing the speed down to the approach speed, and probably configure the landing gear at Tatuba right here. Definitely, because the runway is not too far then from VH702 here. We're still descending through to 1,500. We're at 8,000. We're looking good. And the view here as we arrive into... let me just look at that, guys. Yeah. Looks pretty decent, you know, for default scenery. I mean, yeah, it's not MSFS, but actually looks pretty good. I have to say, I love the night lighting in X-Plane. I think it's really good. There, I think here's a wing view there. You can see the lights, the street lights from the distance. Looks pretty good. Very nice area to fly over. Speaking of gear, I just got the Real Sim Gear. Which one? Real Sim Gear Perspective Cirrus Stack. Yeah, they're very good. They make very good products. David White from Southern California. Go Bulldogs. Absolutely. You know, David, my friend from Fresno, California, just sent me a message over this morning. I received a message over WhatsApp. And I was very pleased to get the message. And when I got the message, I immediately thought of you. Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise this morning from one of my very old friends. A friend I made for life back in 1991 in California. Very, very fortunate to still keep in touch. Just really a gem of a person. The funny thing is, you know, I'll tell you guys what the funny thing is. So my friend back in the 90s had a little girl. And you know, her name was Megan, and she was, I think, 2 at the time. And so when, you know, her mom, you know, wanted to run some errands sometimes, and she can't really, you know, leave her or take her with her, she used to say, "Hey Sam, would you mind watching my daughter until I have a couple of errands to run?" Yeah, sure, no worries. And in 2017, when I visited the States for the first time after a very long time, I met Tracy and Megan again, and I was shocked that Megan was married and had a kid. And I'll tell you guys, I felt very old. Yeah, I felt really, really old, but it was such a beautiful feeling to meet the good old friends after a long time. Yeah, it was very good. All right, so folks, what we're going to do now is we're going to start configuring our flaps. So I'm going to go to flaps 1. There we go. Flaps 1 is set. Okay. And if we look down here at the speed, in about 8 nautical miles, yeah, you can see now the speed is starting to drop. And the airport is going to be somewhere back here. So let me just show you. So that's the airport. Okay, so the airport's right behind this mountainous terrain there. We can't see it properly, but I think you can see the 07. I think 07 left is right here. So yeah, so all is looking good here. Here's the turn. Look at how this plane turns. Oh, look at that. Look at the 7-4. All right. Here's the turn. We're still all right. So we're going to go to flaps 5. Excellent. Flaps 5 is set. Brilliant. I'm younger every day. Nice one. The wind right now is, if we look here, the weather, we've got 100 degrees, 16 knot wind gusting to 26 knots. So it's going to be rough. It's going to be very rough. All right, here's the turn. And let's go to flaps 10. All right, we're going to maintain flaps 10 until established. But we do want to start reducing our speed. And the final speed is 150 knots. Now you can see that the cockpit colors and lighting looks very good. Yeah, at this time of day. I think there's some sort of a bridge there because I see the street lights there. All right, let me decrease the range here. All right, that's good. All right, 5,000. We're looking good. Look at the wing flex there. We're going to turn on the nav lights since it's getting... by the way, this needs to be on both. And logo lights can go on as well. Let's take a look. Yeah. That's the airport right there, guys. That's Hong Kong International Airport. All right. Here we go, 4,000. We'll wait until we are at VH701 to configure our gear. And then flaps for the final approach. We'll leave it now at 10,000 feet. Here's the airport to our right. 4,000. We're almost there now. And I promise you it's going to be a nice approach. Hello there, Casper Nowak. Welcome aboard. Are you using Visual XP right now? No, I am not. This is default X-Plane. I wanted to show you guys X-Plane default today, which is 1209. The only thing we're using today for weather generation, we're using ActiveXP for the weather, and obviously this airport is a the airport is a payware airport. The destination airport is a payware airport. All right, here we go, and we're gonna go use approach. All right, and let's go ahead and lower the landing gear, and we're gonna go to flaps 20. Look at that. Alrighty. That's a 07 left right there. Speed check. Flaps 25. We're a tad too high, but the aircraft is correcting itself right now. That's 07 left, right, center, and left. Right, here's the turn. Excellent. Maybe a couple more times. I mean, when the, you know, when it works, just look at the wind there, the gusting wind there. It was just crazy. Yeah, I think here we can see it a little better. Let me bring this back. I mean, look at that. Looks like the chat wasn't working for a while, huh? Well, for those of you who hasn't seen it, we're going to do it one more time here. Let's do it one more time. Looks like something was off there. We all missed the landing. Really? Alright, well, no worries, let's do it. Yeah, the whole stream went down on final. Really? Oh. Oh, that's too bad. I didn't know that. Everything was fine here. Oh. Alright, well, there you go. Here's the landing for you guys. No, I was not aware. I was not aware. But here's the landing again. Crosswind, yeah. 16 knot gusting to 26. Since you guys haven't seen the landing, we'll do it a few more times here for those of you who missed it. And maybe this time we'll do it here this way. There we go. Notice the engine, how the engine moves there with the wing flex. We'll do a few more since you guys haven't seen it. It was actually a wonderful, wonderful landing. Very challenging, but yeah, it was really, really cool landing.
100.
It must have been YouTube,
40,
yeah.
30, 20. 10.
Time. Do you guys want to see it from the cockpit view or do you want to see it from the external view? You guys let me know and we'll do it as many times as you guys like. Yeah, cockpit view. Okay. Right, let's do the cockpit view this time. X, and let's go back to the cockpit. And here's the cockpit view as we came into land. Since you guys have missed it.
500.
Again, you'll be able to see how the winds, the gusting winds, just kind of took a look at that. Look at how strong the winds were as we came into land.
300. 200.
I was applying a little bit of rudder, left and right rudder, to compensate for the gusting winds.
50, 40, 30, 20. 10.
And there you have it. Thanks, Drashal. It was by just considering how much gust wind there was. Yeah, I agree. The crab was a bit too long. But here, let me do one more view, and this time we're just going to do it like that. Notice how the engines just move. That's really, really cool. Look at just the gusting winds there. Look at that. Just a little bit of a float there. And then the touchdown. All right. So we're off the replay now, and we're going to head back to the terminal. And the airport that you're seeing here is that of Thai Models. I do like this airport, by the way, by Thai Models. He creates very good scenery. This one is not his best work, but still a very nice rendition of Hong Kong International. Yeah, it looks like the terminal is right there. And we'll just make the turn. Yeah, we could have made the turn the other way, but that's all right. We get to see a little bit more of the airport. Right, landing lights off. Runway turn off, lights off. Taxi lights are on. And we can start retracting the flaps. Look at the lighting in X-Plane is just very, very well done. Right, we've tracked the flaps, all is good there. We can start the APU. So, APU start. I really didn't know that it was buffering during the final. How do you update add-ons in X-Plane? It depends which add-on you're after. But for most of the aircraft that use the Skunkcraft updater, I have the standalone updater, which I think is much, much better than the one that works as a plugin. I like to run it externally and just update everything before I'm in the sim. Because you have to exit the sim anyway after the update, and then if you have the aircraft loaded, it tells you that you cannot update while the aircraft's loaded. So what I do have for the Skunkcraft updater, I have it here. So that's what I use, and I've got all the aircraft that will update through the Skunkcraft updater here. You just say check all available updates, and then you can update your aircraft with ease. The scenery is, I have X Organizer, which will tell you if there is a new version of a plugin or a scenery. So it will display your version versus what's the latest available version, and that way you know and can update your scenery. I think we need to turn off the strobe lights here. Strobe lights off. Huge airport, Hong Kong International. And you'll notice, again, the cockpit lighting during nighttime is much nicer than it is during daylight, and it really shows the panel work, the texturing that the developer has done, and it looks a lot. I have to say that it looks very pleasing during nighttime, as you can see here. We can turn off the terrain radar and weather radar as well. So all in all, right now the price of the aircraft is $48. And for $48, I think this is a real steal for an aircraft that does what this aircraft does. It's a 748 in the end. It definitely needs improvement in the sounds department. It needs improvement in the, the texturing. In some areas, it's even worse than other areas. But overall, I think it's a very good add-on for X-Plane. Definitely fun to fly, and the handling of this aircraft is very, very unique. And there are many real-world 747 pilots that have attested to the flight model of this aircraft, that it actually does fly very close to what a real 747 does in real life in terms of how it flies. X-Plane is phenomenal. I love X-Plane. Most of my time I spend on X-Plane. If I'm flying casually, so if I'm flying for just, you know, my thing, I'm doing my own thing, I always fly X-Plane. Always. Yeah, MSFS is good. I love it, and they've got some very, very good add-ons. But my preference is X-Plane, without a doubt. All right, let's bring the aircraft to a stop here. All right, and parking brake is set. All right, so we have the APU on, so we can turn on the APU bleed. We're going to come down here, and APU bleed is on, and we can now turn off the engines. There we go. Engines are off. Taxi lights are off. Nav lights off. Logo lights off. Beacon is off. Let's release the passengers here. And there you have it, ladies and gents. We can open the dome as well. Maybe just to show for those of you who did not see it previously, we can put in the ground power unit. We can come here and click to open the dome cargo door. And you'll see that it's very slowly now opening. And here is a look. We'll take a look back at the aircraft. Here's the look at the airport during nighttime. And as you can see, this looks absolutely gorgeous. Very nice rendition of the airport by Thai Model. This is the main terminal area right here. Again, you can see that this is very well done with the interiors. And the night lighting is done very, very well of Thai Model Hong Kong International for X-Plane 12. You can see the beautiful night lighting across the airport area. There you go, and that's X-Plane night lighting as well for you to appreciate. Yeah, I love the water in X-Plane. And if we change this to daylight, we can again take a look at the airport during daylight. Again, very nice rendition of the airport and the various custom buildings, the custom marking, the clutter. Everything looks just really, really good on this aircraft. Again, very modest interior of the aircraft, but nothing that takes away from the actual airport. I think it looks very good in terms of the overall look and feel of the airport. I think it looks pretty good. And definitely, if you like to fly in this part of the world, this airport is a must. And it's a very nice airport, and it's quite a challenging airport to fly in and out of because of its proximity to the mountains, which creates draft in winds, and you get a lot of gusting winds with this airport. So yeah. That's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys this evening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow evening at exactly the same time for our flight aboard JetBlue. It's going to be a JetBlue flight, a real-world ops JetBlue flight from Boston to JFK in the Tolis A320 Neo. And we're going to be taking a very detailed look at JFK by Nimbus Simulation Studios. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, and good night.